Grace and peace. My name's Ryan, and I am on vacation. But even though I'm on vacation, I still watch movies, because I watch movies for fun. That's just a part of it. And whenever I watch movies, I'm thinking theologically about them. So please pardon the shadow and the glare. I don't have my normal stage light. I'm just using a light in the sky to record with. But I want to talk to you about the movie I saw, Birds of Prey, and the Emancipation of the Fantabulous Harley Quinn, I believe is the full title. Now, I always say when I watch critically panned movies, I'm not a movie critic. I don't really like movie critics. I don't think I'm good at being a movie critic. I don't aspire to be good at being a movie critic. But I want to give a movie reflection and think about what this movie is saying and what this movie means by what it says. So Birds of Prey was an interesting movie from that perspective because it seemed determined to say whatever it said from the perspective of this interesting character, Harley Quinn. She becomes the narrator, and she, kind of like Chief Bromden, is unreliable. She's insane. She's mentally ill, and the way she tells a story is consistent with that. And so the story is not the message. Well, what is the message? What are we left with? And what we're left with, and there's elements of this both behind and in front of the camera, is characters. There are a number of actually really good characters in the Birds of Prey. Suicide Squad, the first movie that featured Harley Quinn, she was the only thing that was good about it. There was one good character, and people consistently said, well, I didn't like Suicide Squad, but I liked Harley. Margot Robbie as Harley did a great job. And so in this movie, they doubled down on that. They gave you lots and lots of Harley, and then they gave you some other... a really interesting villain in Roman Sionis. I thought Ewan McGregor did a fantastic job of a really interesting villain there. Zaz was great. Huntress was great. Black Canary was great. Montoya was great. Cassandra Cain, I didn't love, but that's my own problem. My wife, that was her favorite character, Cassandra Cain. And so you had all these great characters with nothing much to do of any coherency or consistency or import. I mean, they had stuff, they weren't bored. And they had some actually pretty good fight scenes, but they weren't saying anything about what they were doing. They were all fighting Sionis for different reasons, and the movie encouraged you in many different ways not to care about why. The narrator's saying, oh, whatever, she's mad at me for some reason. They hand-wave those things. Which is a really interesting argument to make, I think. Because what it asks of us as an audience is, what makes a movie good? What makes a story good? And if we give you enough good characters, will you even care? That's a challenging question to ask. I mean, thinking about the biblical history, for many people, I feel like they know Joseph. They know Joseph in the dream coat. Joseph throws in a well. They know Moses. They know Moses in the basket. Let my people go. They don't necessarily care how Moses is connected to Joseph. They know David and Goliath. They don't necessarily know how Joseph is connected to Moses, connected to David. The whole arc of biblical history isn't as familiar to us and isn't as important to us as the characters are. We love to hear stories about characters. And what if, indeed, stories really are characters? What is the story of the Knights of the Round Table and the search for the Holy Grail but a story of King Arthur and Lancelot and Guinevere and who they are? What is the story? If you think of a simple story like The Little Engine That Could, that's a story that is about who the little engine is. And when we are telling a story, we're telling the story of that character. If the character doesn't grow and develop, the main character, we say that wasn't much of a story. I don't understand. Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know that I personally agree. You know, I love stories a lot. I love plot. I think we can relate to plot, but then the character in those plots that I'm relating to, you know, when I'm following a great story like the story of Lord of the Rings, you know, and the Hobbit leaves the Shire and goes on the classic hero's journey quest, I become the character. I'm hearing a story about who I am. So there's a greater level to those things. But to ask that question, is a story anything more than a sum of characters? And if I do a good job with characters, do you care about the story? Can I tell you about characters in a special way? I mean, it really brings me back to the cross. Not everything that's theological is Christological necessarily, but I really think this is. We believe in the Word of God as revealed to us, and that Word that became flesh dwelt among us in the man of Jesus Christ. So all stories, everything God wrote, in some way boils down to not a message, not a sentence, not a book, but a person who lived and died and rose again. And how interesting that that same abstract theology shows up in the ramblings of a mad woman in The Birds of Prey. Or maybe I'm nuts. What do you think? I hope you'll send me a comment and you'll like and subscribe to what I've got down here in the video. And I'll see you next time on The Movie Pastor. Thanks.
And when in scenes of glory I sing the new song, 'twill be